Hello again, everybody. I'm Gary Furman, the publisher of Canesport.com with Matt Shodell, and today we are talking about how the Hurricane position groups stack up at the midseason point. And Matt, it was not easy, man. They've had so many ups and downs throughout. You know, 1 week one group's good, the next week another group's good, and the first group was bad. There really has not been a ton of consistency on this football team in the first half of the season, which is why the Canes are 3-3. But I think that we were united in our thoughts that if we were going to make one position group number one, it would be the defensive line position. And probably the biggest reason for that is the guy that you see pictured there, Akeem Isador, who is playing at an extremely high level, one of the top defensive end performers in the entire country. And, you know, now the key in the second half of the season, I would say, is for him to bring the other guys along. We've seen flashes from Mitchell Agood. We've seen flashes from Leonard Taylor. We've seen flashes from Daryl Jackson. If all these guys can start playing good football together, Matt, the Canes defensive line could be dominant the second half of the season.
This segment is brought to you by Akeem Isador. Who, if you're not looking, he will sack you, like right now. Look behind you. He's behind you, Gary. Look, it's like when you open your fridge, right? There's usually like one good item in there you want to eat, and that's it. He's the good item. Like, that's it. Because after that, it's like, it's like there's the baking soda, there's the old jar of pickles, there's some weird jam that you don't remember when it's been there since, but you're scared to even like touch it. It's in the back, maybe behind the milk. I don't know. Like, he's the only like edible entree in your fridge, and that's it. And like after that, it was like, whatever. Like I lost interest, honestly, after ranking the defensive linemen first. But I know that's we got to discuss them all. But yeah, that's he's Akeem Isador. I would actually rank him ahead of the defensive line because he is the defensive line. So I'd rank Akeem Isador first, defensive line second, and then the jar of pickles third, and then maybe quarterback and special teams after the jar of pickles.
All right. We've kind of beat this subject dead over the last several weeks. I mean, no argument there. But since we are talking about defensive line right now, I have to bring up this notion of getting all these guys together on the field for more reps. And Isador got a few more against Virginia Tech than he's been getting. We're not seeing the same from Leonard Taylor and Daryl Jackson. And, Mitchell Agoudi's been playing a little bit more. But, the one thing that I would like to see in the second half of the season is all of these guys getting time together on the field. And in my opinion, that would allow them to impact the game to a greater degree in the second half. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are you're just stealing my material because I've been saying that for like 3 weeks.
No.
End of sentence, end of thought. Move along.
All right. We'll keep it that simple. All right. So we go on from there. The quarterback position, obviously centered mostly on Tyler Van Dyke, has played better the last 2 weeks. Had a horrible game against Middle Tennessee. So, but still worthy. And we debated these, and we weren't in total agreement all the time, but it was a tight call here. But I think you got to respect the fact that Tyler has improved his play the last few weeks, that he did lead Miami to victory at Virginia Tech. Not a very good team, no argument, but still a victory. And now they're 3-3. And then, we go on from there. Special teams, running backs, which have been plagued by injuries. Tight ends have been plagued by injuries. The receivers have been all over the place. Obviously a positive, Matt, that Colby Young is now emerging, that Frank Latson is actually catching the football and making plays. So maybe the receiver group in the second half of the season of the positions below the top two has the best chance probably of moving up here in the second half. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, look, my list, which we discussed, and you promptly discarded my list, but I had special teams clearly second ahead of quarterback, mainly because
that's only because you're biased. You know, you were pushing this whole narrative of benching Tyler. I mean, and in fairness, you were entitled to your opinion, but you're ignoring the quality of his play the last 2 weeks.
I always love how you put words in my mouth. I never said bench him. I said you should play Jake Garcia as the first teamer for a week and then start him in some game you're going to win. Now it's not against Duke, it's against Virginia because Duke actually seems decent. But I still think you want to know what Jake has because there's a decent chance from what I've heard that if Tyler stays, he leaves. And you really want to know what you're going to be losing. The reason special teams, to me, was second in my ranking. Lou Hedley's best punter in the nation, probably the overall MVP with Akeem Isador, co-MVPs. I mean, you see how he impacts games just this past weekend. Borregales, he's okay. I mean, his kickoffs have been great.
Okay, he's missed 3 field goals that have directly impacted losses to Texas A&M and North Carolina.
Well, one of them was...
If you look at it from that point of view, we're probably being extra generous making special teams number 3. Because,
one of them... Okay,
can Lou Hedley compensate that much for Borregales? Now that I'm thinking about it, we probably ranked them too high.
One of them was partially blocked, which might have been his fault. They weren't sure if the guy got too much penetration, combination, whatever. But you could blame him for all 3. That's fine. He's made 13 out of 16. His kickoffs have been great. And then you have Keyshawn Smith, who returned a touchdown, who's looked really good. And special teams in coverage has been excellent. I'm shocked at the lack of penalties. If there's an area that's improved tremendously from last year, and Borregales wasn't amazing last year either, it's special teams. Borregales is what you knew he was. They brought in a guy from USC to try and have him be the kicker instead of Borregales, but he went somewhere else. I mean, you know what he is, and he is what he is. He's not doing badly compared to last year. He's what they thought he was. He's got a decent enough leg, somewhat accurate, but he's been really good on kickoffs compared to what they thought he would be. Lou Hedley's the best in the business. The return game's been excellent, other than Tyreek's stupid, or whoever, was it Tyreek, the fumble? Yeah. Kickoff returns have been really good from...
Special teams have been hit or miss, let's be honest.
Well, there's been a couple of miscues for sure.
But here's the thing, and I'm seeing why I didn't pound the table and say, Matt, we can't rank them special teams number 3. It's because when you get to 4, 5, and 6, there's holes all over the place.
That's why I was talking about. That's why I'm saying when you look in the fridge, it's like after the good entree, there's nothing else. You could rank any of these wherever because they all have problems. I just think special teams has a little bit better, the best part's a little better than the quarterback's been and overall for the season, and the worst part's been a little bit better than the worst part the quarterback's been all year. So I think they're a little more up, like I can't even see myself. They're a little up here in the whatever you want to measure it, and then the quarterbacks are like right there. But I still think special teams clearly should have been second. That's just my opinion.
Oh, there's no way. No, absolutely not. And that's
whatever.
There is no way special teams, when you factor in the missed field goals, the Tyreek Stevenson muff punt, and how those impacted 2 losses.
You act like the quarterback position has been amazing all year. Like, I don't understand. He's been good for 2 games out of 6. Well, 2 out of 5 that really count.
But the only game that he's
had a 40% success rate and being really good.
The only game that you could say that Tyler Van Dyke directly impacted losing because of the way the game started was Middle Tennessee.
He almost lost the Southern Miss game. Thank God they went to the run. The LSU game, he couldn't make plays and get the ball in the end zone. Like, I don't know what games you've been watching. He's been great the last 2 weeks. Great against a bad North Carolina defense. And I think Virginia Tech's defense is okay. I think he did really, really well in that game. I really do. I'm going to give credit where credit's due. I thought Tyler played great this last game. I actually thought he played much better this last game than he did against North Carolina, because that's how bad North Carolina was. Like, North Carolina couldn't get out of their own way. I mean, I could have completed a couple of passes in that game. Virginia Tech was better on defense by far than North Carolina, and Tyler still did great. So I would say Tyler played 1 great game, and guess what? He's had 1 above 80% grade all year, Gary, not including Bethune. So, I mean, you act like he's this amazing player. I could have easily put him after the running backs. I mean, like, whatever.
Let me try to find some middle ground with you here. There's a bottom line to this list. There's one position on the team that doesn't have warts. Okay, and that's the defensive line position.
Yeah.
They've been consistently good pretty much the whole year, and that's why they're number 1. But as you sit here and listen to us argue about this stuff, and we could go down the whole list and probably argue about every position, I think you're seeing that there's obviously been a lot of problems this year.
Well, second tier, like if you're doing it ranking, second tier, first tier is defensive line, second tier is quarterbacks through tight ends to me, where any of them could be wherever, because the running backs were great the first 3 games, I think it was. And then they sort of gave up on the run the last couple of games. So, it's hard to really say.
Tight end Mallory's been good some of the time. Arroyo was
And it's
good
not the
some of
running
the
backs'
time.
fault. The last couple of games, by the way, the offensive lines just opened no hole. So you can't really blame the running backs for that. Their run grades have been fine. Tight ends had hit or miss. So, yeah, and then the receivers were so bad until the last couple of games. You have to have that as the next tier. Offensive line's been a little bit brutal here and there. And then I think the linebackers and DBs, honestly, are probably in the final tier, that both of them are just like sort of, you just sort of groan
Yeah. Well,
a little bit too often on missed assignments, missed tackles, busts, things like that.
Obviously, the biggest surprise of the season is that we're ranking the defensive backs the least
crazy.
effective position group on the football team. I mean, that is amazing. If we had done that before the season, Matt, I think we would have both put them in the top 2 or 3.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean,
it is
shocking.
Unbelievable.
You have James Williams, Cam Kinchens. We thought Avante would be okay or pretty good, actually. You think James Williams could go down in the box. How about the linebackers? And then you look at the returning, you have Tyreek back at corner. They were so comfortable at corner. They just said to Marcus Clark goodbye, and they were so happy about DJ Ivey and Takori Couch, which was a mistake, obviously. I think Marcus Clark's now starting at some major program. Was it Arkansas? I don't know. He's starting somewhere. And then they bring in Daryl Porter, who was supposed to be a really good physical one-on-one corner from West Virginia. He didn't pan out. I mean, I don't know how it just went south like this. You have Jamil Adai, who's supposed to be this great DB coach. Kevin Steele, this veteran defense coordinator. And for whatever reason, again, there's so much that you can't explain with why it's like this. It shouldn't be like this in the secondary. The talent's too high for them to be playing like this. And who do you blame? Fans all want to know, who do you blame? Do you blame the coaches?
But is it really? Think about this. So James Williams, there's the debate on James Williams. Is he playing the right position? Not a very good tackler, takes bad angles. Avante Williams has been a total disaster this year, to the point where they really can't put him on the field. And Cam Kinchens is the best of the 3 safeties, but he blew the North Carolina game with 2 mental busts. Okay, the cornerbacks have been hit or miss. Tyreek's been playing hurt quite a bit. DJ Ivey had a rough day against Middle Tennessee. So it's just erratic all over the place. And so I would question how much talent is really there, or are we so brainwashed by the general struggles of the program that we created a paper monster before the season in thinking that this position was going to be so great? The truth, maybe it's in the middle, but they definitely are not performing to level. That's why they're last on the list. All right, so what is your ranking of Miami's position groups at midseason? Go to the message boards at canesport.com and post your ranking in the war room. We would love to see your opinions on how you would rank the Canes position groups at this midway point of the season. For Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Furman. Hit your subscribe button, hit your like button. It'll help us with YouTube's algorithms and will allow us to continue bringing you more of this content. Have a great day, everybody.